Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan, and today we are looking over the very, very early Heisman predictions for at least the betting lines for the 2024 college football season. And two things I like to point out. One, we're at 100 subscribers. Thank all of y'all who subscribed and tuned in and all that for it. It's greatly appreciated. If you're not already subscribed, I'd suggest you hitting the subscribe button. It means a lot to me, and you're able to get you. I'll try my best to do daily content. So yeah, another thing, I'm also kind of sick right now, so and my voice sounds different. That's why. Actually, I know for a fact it sounds different. I already can tell. I also have a third thing. Usually, whenever I record down here during the day, it's got a little bit like right there of a lot of sunlight. Usually, kind of overpowers the video or like the background of it. So today, I put some 2 blankets and I clipped them on up here so it blocks most of the sunlight, but you can still get enough lighting. So yeah, you have a plaid blanket under it and then an actual Tennessee blanket, which is obviously the best one. But yeah, let's discuss this, the early predictions or the early betting favorites to win the Heisman. And we just come off the year that Jaden Daniels won the Heisman, somewhat debated between him and Michael Penix, but right now, but Jaden Daniels had a phenomenal year and great stats, and hopefully has a great pro career. So let's discuss the betting lines for this year. I'm gonna drink some water first, and let's talk about it. First up, at plus 750, you have 2 tied for number 1 spot. You have Quinn Ewers, which I agree with fully. I believe he should be the top spot here. And kind of surprising, Carson Beck. I don't remember the last time a Georgia quarterback has got close to winning the Heisman. Even with the Matthew Stafford years, the Aaron Murray years, it just seemed like someone else was the main guy. And I would be surprised if Carson Beck is that high just because he lost Brock Bowers and he lost I think Lad McConkey. I'm not sure if Lad McConkey's still on the team. He might be. He might not. He's been on the team for a minute if that's the case. I know you got good guys. You got Dylan Bell. But you have Trevor Etienne, which you're going to probably abuse that in the run game because Trevor Etienne is phenomenal. And Trevor Etienne put up a lot of good stats with Florida's offensive line. I only can imagine what he could do with Georgia's offensive line. So that'd be interesting. I think Trevor Etienne's one of those guys that would be one of those sleeper picks for the Heisman. You know what I mean? Like one of those that's like, okay, maybe he can have a 2,000-yard year or something crazy like that with this offensive line. But then you have plus 1,000, and that'd be Dylan Gabriel at Oregon. He transferred from Oklahoma. He was at UCF for a while. Then he went to Oklahoma, had a pretty good year. Excuse me. And now he's with this Oregon offense. Now, we saw what they did with Bo Nix. See how Dan Lanning works with quarterbacks. He's pretty good. But he was a defensive guy. They're in the Big Ten now. It's going to be tougher defenses than what the Pac-12 usually had to offer and mainly what the Big 12 had to offer. So it'll be interesting to see how they play against those type of teams. But I'm not mad at him being number 3 spot. Or maybe a little bit high in my opinion. But then you have Jalen Milroe at 1,200. I can probably just say 1,200. That I'm not surprised with this Kalen DeBoer offense that they're going to run. They're probably going to use Jalen Milroe a lot of time in the run game because they weren't able to really use that whenever he was at Michael Penix. But Michael Penix was great at throwing the deep ball to his wide receivers. And the main thing Jalen Milroe was known for is his accuracy going deep with the ball. So I could just imagine what Kalen DeBoer can do with this team. And a lot of guys that said they were transferring away from Alabama are actually coming back. So Kellen Barr's doing something right. And he's got some guys from Washington. He's got some good guys. So I'm interested to see what happens with this Bama team. And with the same 1,200 plus 1,200, you have Will Howard coming from Kansas State he's now at Ohio State. This offense looks really good. Quinshon Judkins, he's there. Caleb Downs is on the defense. You have really good offensive guys already. Number 2, Buke, he's coming back, receiver, and you have already a good offense. I'm not sure if Trevion Henderson's back. If he's back, then this is an insane offense. So Will Howard, I could definitely see it happening. Then you have plus 1,500 for Nico Emalavala. Nico Emalavala. That's the best I can say right now. It's probably going to get better over time, but I'm interested. This is the first guy on this list that has not started a regular season game. I'm kind of surprised he's this high. He says plus 1,500. I'm interested, but with this hype offense, you saw what he did with Hooker and what Milton could do. They won a lot of games with a guy that was very inaccurate, but they got to get more creative with the play calling. That's something that I was frustrated a lot last year with, but we already got Mike Matthews coming in. He's a 5-star wide receiver. Brew McCoy's coming back. Probably won't be the same way he was, but we got a tight end coming from Notre Dame. You got some good offensive linemen returning, so Nico can explode and be a great quarterback this year. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Then you have plus 1,800, Garrett Nussmeier. He is at LSU. There was a debate at one point who would be the starter between Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier. Eventually went to Jaden Daniels, but no one questioned the idea of Garrett Nussmeier not having great talent. He is a very talented quarterback. He can sling it. He showed up pretty well against Wisconsin, had a slower start, but a very good finish to everything. They ended up winning the game. So, interested to see what happens with him. And just sometimes there's some inaccuracy, but he can easily fix that just throughout game experience. Just throughout the year, he'll be fine. We'll see him in the spring game, and then we'll decide what happens after that. But another one at plus 1,800. There's three at plus 1,300. At plus 1,800, you have Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma. He is another guy that did not have a start this year in the regular season until bowl season. This guy has a lot of talent, but he's got to work on holding onto the ball. This guy he can throw great passes on the run. He's a good accurate quarterback at times. He can go deep. He can run a bit. He's very good. But he had 4 turnovers against Arizona. Just him alone. 3 of them were awful. Awful. One of them was okay. It was just a mistake. He had a fumble on a 3-man rush. He threw an interception to start the fourth quarter, and he threw an interception on his first pass of the game. Just awful stuff. And Jackson Arnold and Nico play early in the year. So I'm interested to see how that matchup goes. It's in Oklahoma. This might be a test of future, later on in the year. Possible Heisman decision-making might come down to that game. Especially if these play out like how these bettors have it right now. And then you have plus 1,800 on Jackson Dart, Ole Miss quarterback. He's been the quarterback for 2 years. You know Lane Kiffin's offense. Without Quinshon Judkins, you still got Ulysses Bentley. He's very good. That's one of those guys that I'm surprised people aren't talking about enough. He should be talking about more. He's a really good running back. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets some more carries. And I know they got a lot of guys coming to their team. Jackson Arnold's a fast guy. He has a lot of experience. He's been on really good teams. If Lane Kiffin can take this next jump over and maybe beat like they beat LSU, that was probably Lane Kiffin's best win at Ole Miss. In the grand scheme of things, he had his best year Ole Miss has almost ever had. But if he's able to eat the Georgias or the Bamas or the Texases, I forgot exactly what's on their schedule, but if he can beat one of them, then you can look at this guy and be like, wow, okay, this dude could end up being the Heisman winner. Plus 2,000 for Noah Fafita. He is phenomenal. He's at Arizona. He balls out. He's insane at quarterback. He's super underrated. No one talks about him, and that's one of the reasons I wanted Jetfish to stay at Arizona. It's because this guy is so good. He is the best freshman quarterback last year. It was not a doubt in my mind. He was so good. He just ran through a bunch of teams. They destroyed, at the time, decent Washington State team. They beat Oregon State. They beat Oklahoma. They beat a lot of good teams easily. I think they beat UCLA. Oh my gosh, this guy is really good. And I hope he gets I hope he gets to show it to the level he did this year. Or last year, I should say. Next up, Connor Wingman, plus 2,000. Interested to see how that happens. He had a good start to the year, and then he got injured, and then Max Johnson had filling for him. So if he's barring injury, he can possibly win it. A&M's had a Heisman quarterback before of Johnny Manziel. I don't think Connor Wingman's his level, but he's not a bad guy. He's really not a bad quarterback, and I'm interested to see what happens with A&M this year. They have talent. They have a new quarterback. They have a new head coach, Dan Enos, from Duke. I'm interested to see how that's going to play out and what they can bring to that team. And talking about former Duke guys, Riley Leonard, plus 2,000 at Notre Dame. This is too high, in my opinion. I don't see him being that great. Notre Dame quarterbacks aren't usually that high in the Heisman race anyways, so I'm surprised they put him this high. I don't see him doing this. If Sam Hartman couldn't do it, I don't think Riley Leonard can either. But I see Notre Dame possibly good this year. 8-4, 9-3, pretty good. But I wouldn't say a Heisman candidate, in my opinion. Then you have Cam Ward, former Washington State quarterback at Miami. He had a great start to the year, possible Heisman candidate, and then he plummeted after a 7-game losing streak after starting off the year 4-0. Pitiful stuff from that team. That drop-off was insane. So he does in Miami of Mario Cristobal, and he did decent with Tyler Van Dyke. He got hurt at one point, but ever since that Georgia Tech game, Miami was just on a downward spiral. They started the year 4-0, and they finished the year 7-6. That says a lot. They went 3-6, if you include that Georgia Tech game, which, if you don't remember, was the game that Miami could have won the game if they took a knee, but they ran the ball and they fumbled, and 2-3 plays later, Haynes King is throwing a touchdown. One of the best things I've seen live all last year. It was probably my favorite play of all last year. Was watching the whole sequence happen. Then you have DJ Uiagalelei at Florida State. Seeing what Mike Norvell is going to do with him, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see what he does with him. DJ Uiagalelei has had some potential, but consistency has not been good. It's not been a trait of his. He has talent, but he didn't show it a whole lot at Clemson. That's why he transferred to Oregon State. He showed some of it at Oregon State, but then he transferred to Florida State. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Florida State and see if they can maybe make a playoff run. Who knows? You have Cade Klubnik at plus 3,000. They ended the year on a 5-game winning streak. Clemson. Would not bet much on Cade Klubnik winning this award. No, I would not. That's a very risky thing. Even throughout the great years of Trevor Lawrence and the Deshaun Watsons, none of them were Heisman candidates. They were very good quarterbacks, but they weren't Heisman candidates. And Cade Klubnik's not on the level of a Trevor Lawrence or a Deshaun Watson. So, I don't think they're going to do it. I really just don't think they're going to do it. Cade Klubnik's not going to be able to do that, especially to the level you have to be able to beat these other quarterbacks like a Quinn Ewers and a Milroe and a Gabriel and these guys like that. And then plus 3,000, this could be a big steal depending on how they play out this year. Brady Cook at Missouri. He played real good last year. Woo. Only losses to LSU in a close one and Georgia in a close one. Those are good losses to have. And he didn't really choke. I mean, he had some mistakes against LSU, but it was mainly their defense couldn't get a stop when they had to. So, when they had the chance to. So, they could have easily been 12-1. They could have easily been 12-1, but they were not. They could have easily been 13-0. They genuinely could have been. But they had losses in games that they had a chance in, but they just didn't win. And their best win on the year was destroying, just absolutely mauling Tennessee. Just made them look horrible. Which, yeah, was a surprise seeing Cody Schrader run through them and all that. And Brady Cook was very good at that too. So yeah. But one guy on this list, that's not on this list, that surprises me, is Shedeur Sanders. I think he can be very good this year. He can probably ball out at Colorado, and maybe the publicity might give him more time just for the world to see him just play great and possibly be a Heisman candidate later in the year. You have to win a lot of games, but the Big 12, I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm interested. I'm very interested to see what happens with Shedeur Sanders in Colorado. So yeah, that is the odds as of January 2024. This came out on the 23rd of January. So this was about a week ago. I didn't see these until earlier today. So that's why I'm covering them now. But put on the comments what you think is going to happen here. And yeah, I hope you all have a great day. Stay safe, y'all. and God bless y'all.